Nuclear war is the inevitable conclusion of the Ukrainian invasion, warns Russian general who wrote the nation's war Bible. So I think that that's why this is actually getting attention compared to some of the people on Russian TV and some of the propagandists that, are always saying that nuclear war is inevitable. But this gentleman has a lot of swing in the way he thinks and the way that he does how he comes to his conclusions. It says that nuclear war is the inevitable conclusion of the Ukrainian invasion, warns Russian general who wrote the nation's war Bible. It says nuclear war is the inevitable conclusion of this current Russian event. The chilling forecast came from a retired Major General Alexander Vladimirov, who penned Russia's 3-volume book called The General Theory of War. It says for the transition to the use of weapons of mass destruction, only one thing is needed: a political decision by the Supreme Commander-in-Chief, Vladimir Putin, the veteran commander warned in an interview with journalist Vladislav Shirgin. It says that the goals of Russia and the goals of the West are their survival and historical eternity. And this means that in the name of all of this, all means of armed struggle available to them will be used, including such a tool as nuclear weapons. He warned, "I am sure that nuclear weapons will be used in this war, inevitably, and from this, neither we nor the enemy have anywhere to go." So the question to ask here is, why then would somebody who is considered a very, very smart person, why would he say that then? If they go to nuclear, where do you go after that, right? So is that the end of all? Does one person surrender, or is it mutually assured destruction? I'm sure he's not mad enough to think that we are all so stupid that we're just going to destroy the planet and that's lights out. And I don't personally think that they are trying to destroy the whole planet. They are trying to rule the whole planet. And you don't rule a planet by destroying it. Now, you could break it down and destroy it in other means. Say if you had a traditional big boom boom drop on someplace and destroy it and build back up, they have no problem building back. But again, that's something that doesn't leave a radiological trail for 100 years. So this doesn't sit well with me, but a lot of folks are actually saying, he may be right. The sooner our politicians and leadership realize this, the sooner we start to train troops and the population for this, the more chances that we will have for survival, which means victory. What a crazy way to look at it, to think that, of course, the surviving people will be the winners of all of this. That after nukes go off, that the winning side will be the ones who survive best. I hope that it would never come to that, and a lot of folks highly doubt that it would ever go to that. But look at where our planet has gone now, and look at where we are from even just 10 years ago. A lot of things have changed that we thought were tradition and considered absolute. I mean, heck, there are subjects just in the last 5 years that people just thought it would be absolutely ridiculous if that changed. But now that's what's happening right now. There are things that are considered absolutely normal that are now absolutely offensive, and you are not allowed to say. So it's kind of hard to see through the crystal ball here, but one thing is for sure. It's very, very creepy that this just keeps getting repeated by different parties. But that's not the most important thing today. In fact, this is going to be a recurring kind of circle here of nuclear threats, and we're going to see that. Most of you are not scared by that. In fact, most of us are desensitized by it. One of the most important things, though, is history repeating itself. One of the craziest things ever. If you remember Pearl Harbor, that was an event that was actually preceded by a tourist, a fake tourist that was actually a spy, and they were monitoring all of our military's movements from Hawaii. After that, something surprise happened. Well, guess what's happening right now? So we'll talk about that here in just a minute. We'll be right back right after this with all of your Marfoogle TV. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, what is going on, guys? It's Adam A.K. Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. If you've never been here before, real quick, we're going to go over all of the ways you can find our source and bibliography. Today's show, you just go over to marfooglenews.com. You will see a full website with all of our thumbnails, which today you'll just look for this thumbnail, Loch Ness in China, tourists access military bases, nukes to Britain. Once you click on that thumbnail, you will find a full bibliography of all of our sources, every single article, tweet, video, picture, document. And you will have the sources at your fingertips. So make sure to utilize that. We'll go over the overflow at the very end. That is the bottom of the page, which has all sorts of extra stuff. Also, remember to go over to marfooglenews.com/friends and treat our mods nicely. They are keeping it peaceful down there. The whole job is just to make sure that everybody is pushing each other up instead of down. That is one of the general and very simple rules about chat. We don't put other people down here. People have enough stresses in their real life without coming here to get in a fight over something. Agree to disagree on certain things. We all believe something different, and that is also part of the belief of myself and this channel, is that you guys are all being trained alongside with me and everybody else on this planet to be divided, to fight with each other. So we're not going to have any of that, even if it's just for 2 hours. If that's possible, that would be great. Learn to find what you have in common instead of finding all the things and the differences you have. It's very easy. It's not new age or hippy dippy. It's just, hey, let's be nice to each other, treat people like you'd like to be treated kind of thing. Also, I just want to say thank you to all the PayPal donors of this year: Linda S., Jacqueline L., Don D., Jeff B., Lisa H., Sheila B., and Tony D. Thank you guys for supporting and being the top supporters over there again today. Let's bring in my co-host / internet brother, Dex James. What is going on? How are you doing?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So we have the War General. Do you have an opinion about the War General or the War Bible writer saying this stuff?
Well, yeah, no more than every other new story that comes out, but I will add this. And somebody in chat had mentioned it, and I think we talked about it a couple weeks ago, and I'm going to put a link on the website. In about 7 minutes, we're launching a Minuteman missile test. So kind of interesting that this is all happening around the same time. This is a test, as they've told us. They announced this before. It's an unarmed one. They do this from time to time out of Vandenberg in California, but the launch time is 11:47 p.m. I guess that would be Eastern time. I don't know what the time zone is for that specific launch. And if that's the case, that could be any moment now. If not, it'll be in the next couple of hours. But yes, that's happening. And we do that to show a sign of readiness back towards Russia and now back towards China. We do these all the time. We do them many times a year.
Well, it's not that often when you actually see them. Is this off of the California coast, or is this where did we?
Yeah, it's the same one off the California coast that we covered a while back. It's Vandenberg's Space Force base in California where they're launching.
So just so you know, you're going to see UFO videos tomorrow. I guarantee it. You're going to see videos on Twitter. Most people know what they are now, but that crazy spiral of it leaving. It leaves that crazy trail and that big thing. The first time, I thought it was wild. The first time I saw a Minuteman launch off of the California coast, which, did they launch this out of a submarine? Is that what happens? Are they testing it from a sub? Because it seems like...
No, this is from the base.
Okay, so even crazier, because people are going to see this in all the major cities. They're going to see this thing hit the barriers, and then it starts making this, it almost looks like it's traveling through time. It's just nuts. It makes spirals and all of these crazy things every time that they've done this Minuteman thing. And at first, it doesn't seem like that long ago. It seems like within 5 years ago is the first time it was really heavily videotaped, and people were like, what is that? And one of them wasn't even told about. Like, nobody even talked about it. Or they didn't say it out loud, I think. But either way, when that happened, a lot of people thought it was a UFO. As far as the Minuteman launches, it's like, we're actually launching and testing, launching these delivery systems, right? One part of this, it says that in Vladimirov's 2013 book, the retired Major General argues that there has been a transition from the traditional theory of war, where there was a distinction between peace and war, to a permanent state of war, which is characterized by constant fear and insecurity. Well, that is a good point. We are in constant fear of some sort of war. But the thing that has changed is that now we can see within our view their goal of what they want people to do on this planet. They would like everything digital. They want everything tracked, traced, blah, blah, blah. People don't want that. There's a lot of people who do not want this next thing. Now, an easy way to transition into that is you put people in a position where they are so downtrodden that they are screaming for you to do something differently. If we have a situation where we are literally calling for them, hey, give us anything. Oh, well, we can give you this digital card that can get you food and water and all of this. And then all of a sudden you get people transitioned into a whole new system. Our entire world is running on the petrodollar, but yet they're telling us that we're not going to be using petrol in a few years. How are you going to transition off of a currency that is the backbone of everything without having some sort of reset? It's just simple. It's going to have some sort of event that does it. And when you see what's happening later, you'll go, holy crap. Dex, go ahead.
Hey, I have an update on the time schedule. I found another source. It is 11:47 Pacific time until 5:47 a.m. Pacific time. So it's actually a window. So that can happen anytime, like 3 hours from now, and then on into the morning, which again, to your point, Adam, is, usually those, if they're later in the morning, you get those crazy shots because the plumes are high up in the atmosphere and the sun is rising over, but you don't really see the sun, and it lights it up and it looks crazy.
Yeah, there's it's guaranteed there's going to be people that see it and freak out. Now, one other part is that so we need to be prepared, prepare the army, the state, and the economy, and the population of the country. One thing is for sure, whether you agree with his view on this or not, one thing is for sure, they do not stress prepping in the U.S. They stress prepping in a lot of European countries. In fact, if you're watching from one of these European countries, even your grocery stores have local programs where you can come in and they'll teach you how to prep and what to buy and things like this, because they realize how bad the situation's got. They also get a heads up on these things, so they try to actually prep up some of the smaller communities that will be hit the hardest if one of these wars starts. But the U.S. has never been direct. We've never had war on our ground, at least in the last 100 years. So we've never had it in the United States for World War II or World War I or for any of the other wars. They've always been somewhere else. So Americans are really used to being geographically safe from all of this. Europeans, not so much. It's just like how people in Florida, they know to board up their stuff. When a hurricane's coming, they know. They've been through so many that they know the rigmarole. They know what happens when this goes down. Same in Europe. With war, they know that it's not an impossibility that war will come to their town. It's not an impossibility that the buildings in the town square will be destroyed by artillery. Like, that's something that their grandparents that are still alive actually dealt with. Here, you might know somebody who went somewhere and did that, but that's kind of like, looking at pictures of somebody else's vacation, right? A lot of people don't care unless it happens to them. And again, or to somebody that they know and it happened to their house or to their town. Many people look everywhere else. They don't care if it's happening somewhere else. And that's kind of shallow, but that's how it is. And then a U.S. spy agency dreams of surveillance underwear. It's calling them smarty pants. I wish that people weren't out there that were really trying to do stuff like this. Dex, I'm gonna give this one to you. The future of wearable technology.
And I'm going to blame this one on Heavy Ordnance, who gave it to us last night in chat. But yes, apparently we're spending $22 million in an effort to create smart clothing, smart e-pants, as they call them. But if you just say it really quickly, it's smarty pants, which is probably the best of all the names I've seen coming out of DoD or DARPA or one of those locations. So, but apparently they're trying to pack as much technology in clothing, and clothing that can be worn discreetly and not be seen, as possible. Everything from cameras to microphones to geolocation awareness and other things. So a lot of money being spent to make some smarty pants, some smart underwear, if you want to call it that. Not to be confused with other types of underwear that's out there, but hey, that's our tax dollars at work. And who knows, maybe the next 007 will be sporting some cool briefs that have all sorts of gadgets built into them.
I was just thinking of, oh gosh, what was it? It was recently where they caught the feds at the rally, right? And they were all wearing the khakis, right? Yeah. Look at this. Look at this. Yeah. This is at that certain event, right? Look at this. They're all wearing smartwatches, and I bet you each one of those buttons is a 360 camera. Look at the haircuts. Like, one thing I don't get is how they don't, like, so 99% of their day is professional in an office, and when they do this kind of work, they usually send out like the guys who are at the desk jockeys. Look at the haircuts. The haircuts give it away every time. And it's like, if it was one, yeah, but all of them, clean cut, this and that. And if they're not, the other way, then they're probably feds. I mean, look at this. They're all wearing sunglasses. They all have smartwatches. They all have the same kind of outfit on it. It's like they had some sort of piece of paper that said, wear something this, wear shorts, wear this, and they went off and checklisted it. I can just see when these smart e-pants come out, you're going to see groups of guys all in khaki pants, all wearing the same exact thing, and it's like, because they're so uniform, they stick out like a sore thumb. Dex, go ahead.
Well, and they also can go to the opposite side. Instead of being worn by someone undercover, they can be worn by someone who doesn't know that they're wearing them. I think that's part of it, is also being able to surveil the wearer without them knowing, to spy on them. Now, I don't know how you infiltrate and switch out their Calvin Kleins for smarty pants, but maybe that's what the spies do.
Well, I definitely think that this is already out. Like they already, well, obviously they are developing better and whatever ones, but they already have these out. And think about it too, the camera, how many people look at your crotch? People aren't going to look at your crotch, so it's a good place to put a camera because, unless you're just a complete weirdo, you try to avoid looking at that area. I mean, you try to look at people in the eyes, or at least the top half, but who knows? Maybe if it's reverse, if you're a guy, you try to look at the floor. Who knows? But it's kind of crazy. And then Burning Man attendees claim widespread mud is causing chemical burns on their feet. This one, again, they're turning this into, it's pretty crazy what happened. It obviously flooded out. They said that the mud was so bad because it was so dry. When it actually rained, it turned into this sticky mud that they said would just grab at you, and it was hard to even walk. But now it says tens of thousands of attendees at Burning Man, the counterculture festival in northern Nevada, were stranded due to muddy roads caused by heavy rain. Among other issues, many reported facing problems with serious burns on their feet caused by chemical found in the desert sand. Justin Schumann, an actor and content creator who spent 11 days at the Burning Man Festival, described the challenging conditions at the Black Rock Desert, where the festival is taking place, Particularly, he mentioned the wet and slick mud, as well as the potential risk for a chemical burn called playa foot from prolonged exposure to the mud. So, again, what a weird thing to even to think about. But look at the ground right there. In the pictures, you can tell this is just horrid. But it does look like it actually quit raining, right? So the worst of it's over, right?
It is, and we have other updates in overflow, but there's also a mad dash to try and get out. There's fighting, there's traffic jams galore now that they found a path out. So yeah, it's a big mess, but I think, maybe next year they're going to call it burning foot. I don't know.
It's so bad. And then Russia warns of escalation if America returns its nukes to Britain bases. Dex, do you want to cover this one?
So apparently, there's the U.S. Air Force has secured $50 million in funding for a military project, and it possibly can take our nukes and bring them back to the UK or back to British soil, and that they haven't been there for over 15 years. So that's a big step. Now, obviously, anytime we move nukes into Europe, it's they're the ones. There's only a handful of NATO countries that have them, not all of them, just a handful. They're stored inside buildings. They have to be loaded onto planes, and they can only be launched by the plane that takes them there. So there's a lot of rules around it. I think most of our nukes that would hit Russia would either come from our continent or mostly from our subs that are probably sitting all over the place. But moving nukes into the UK is a big thing for another big thing, almost a red line, if you want to call it that, for Russia. And I want to call it a red line because we've seen many of those red lines crossed and nothing happens. But it's significant. It's significant enough that that they're saying, hey, this would be a serious escalation if you actually go through with what we're suggesting. So we'll see what plays out of it. It sounds to me like we're probably putting the nukes there. It seems like an obvious step that we can make to either upset them, rock the apple cart, or continue our push for NATO strength and presence across Europe. So one of those many excuses will probably be the reason why this goes through and happens. I don't know how much we expect Russia to really do anything with it. I don't know, Adam. What's your thoughts from this whole red line side?
Well, it's kind of like the boy who cried wolf, but at one point maybe they aren't, joking around. We don't know who's actually behind all of this, if they're high-fiving behind closed doors. But one thing we can look at is the pattern of the escalation has always happened in little incremental kind of these little hits. And at some point, it has been a long while since we've had a big conflict. So I think we're overdue for this to actually hit off. I don't think it's going to be the end of the world, but I also don't think we're weapons of mass destruction. I think that they could use a weapon of mass destruction to start it off, or a Pearl Harbor moment. But who knows? What we're covering in a little bit here with tourists getting into our military bases from a specific country, that to me is really, really eerie. That puts the timeline much closer, I think. But yeah, as far as they always say these red lines, and it's not Vladimir Putin itself saying it. So even if it was, they say all sorts of stuff. But I guess looking at this from a prepper's standpoint is that there's a 0.1% that this could happen. And you should look at it like that and you should take that same percent and say, well, maybe 1% of my day should be, dedicated to trying to prep for stuff. If it is even the slightest possibility, you should at least not be blindsided by it. The main point of our show is to let you know about certain things so you're not caught blindsided, which many people are. I know it seems like a lot of people follow news, but people really follow kind of the top cliff notes of news, and they're following the top cliff notes of what the mainstream is saying, so they only get that kind of brisk kind of overview, and they're getting it from propaganda on all sides. Every side has stuff, but there's also the fact that they are covering real events. They are preparing you for real events that maybe they planned. And they're changing the narrative, and they're shaping the narrative of what it's going to happen. For a couple years there, everybody was like, oh, if it's mainstream, then it's fake. It's not fake. It's shaping. If you look at what the CIA does and what mocking the little tweeter there, what that program did is it took real events and it would shape the view of those events. So, and if they knew something was coming, they would shape. I mean, it's textbook stuff. This stuff, once you kind of recognize it, it's just kind of like if you've gone to school for something, that, or if you went to school to be a mechanic, or you went to school to be a carpenter, you could see somebody going, they're doing it right, or they're doing it wrong. You know, you could see the tricks that they're using to do things. And that's what I see with this. What do you think, though? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you, Bible Talk. Thank you. It says, I had to start wearing loose jeans, LOL. Well, I guess, are they stupid jeans then? You got to get yourself some smarty pants. And then before we move on, I do want to remind you, if you do want to protect yourself against one of the biggest and most possible out of all of the crazy things we talk about, this is the least crazy thing to say that it might not happen. This is actually something that can protect you against events that will happen. This is an EMP shield that you can wire into your car. You actually wire the red to red on your battery, black to black on your battery, and then green to ground to a part of your frame. It takes less than 10 minutes, and it will protect your cars, your trucks, your vehicles, your motorcycles from being affected by an EMP or a CME, a Carrington level event from the sun. So they have devices for pretty much everything. They formulate them for whatever they're trying to protect. But most of them, again, are very easy to put in. They take 10 minutes or less to put in, and they are going to straight up ground the signal of an EMP or multiple EMP strikes or a Carrington level event from the sun in less than 500 trillionths of a second before it can fry your device. That way you can get home to your family or get out to bug out. Both of those things are going to be incredibly important after something like this happens. Now, an EMP is kind of a questionable thing, but a CME or a Carrington level event hitting Earth is a matter of time. It's basically the slowest race ever if the government actually preps up our grid before it happens. And they're basically going at a snail's pace. The last president signed in a executive order to protect our grid, and essentially the new president didn't undo. That was one of the only executive orders he didn't undo. But they are essentially slowing it down every way they can. And guess who's helping them? This is the company that's actually helping agencies like DHS, DOD, and the DEMSO team protect the Texas grid. So they're helping all over the country, but they have been impeded. So nobody's going to protect you, just like we've seen with multiple disasters. Nobody is going to protect your vehicles. Their vehicles are all going to be outfitted with these. But yours are not unless you do it yourself. So go to marfooglenews.com/EMP. Again, that will get you $50 off with our code per device. So if you have multiple cars you want to protect, then this is a good thing. Again, that actually allows your all digitalized car to keep running throughout multiple EMP strikes or a Carrington level event from the sun. They also have one for your home, so everything plugged in within 250 linear feet of where it's wired in will still run, and it will protect it even after all of these events happen. All right, and then let's see here. Putin warned Poland to unleash hit-to-kill missile system as Russian threat explodes. Dex, do you want to cover this one?
So the hit to kill is another term for the Patriot missile system. So they are actually acquiring Poland in their warning to Putin, as the headline claims. They're ordering 6 more batteries of this. They announced that today. Today, the 5th, and they're putting these into and wanting to get these in place. Obviously, the tensions are just continuing to boil up between Belarus and the border of Belarus and Poland. Obviously, with Russia and Poland by way of Belarus. So, no signs of any of this amping down. Every time we report on it, it's something else is being added into the mix. So now here we have 6 more batteries being ordered to be put into position and put into place to protect that border. So yeah, things are ramping up.
Well, what's crazy is that the Russia part is I don't think that us here in the U.S. Are actually going to receive the Russia side of this until after we receive the side of it from China. We'll talk about that here in a second. But it says Russia really is using tires to protect its bombers from attack. I don't find this that silly. I know that the U.S. used a lot of different materials during wartime that were not normal. I believe that this is, when you're in wartime, you try to figure out simple ways to protect stuff. So actually, this is something I want to say we did. Recent satellite imagery reveals more details of the unique measures Russia has taken in hopes of protecting its long-range bombers against UKR attacks. The war zone has been first to spot the strange coverings atop a couple of its bombers in late August. It says, but it wasn't clear exactly what they were made of at that time. Now we can definitively say that Russia is placing tires on top of the upper surfaces of the aircraft in various patterns. As we explored in the past, the timing of this move coming immediately after the announcement that UKR has modified its Neptune anti-ship cruise missile to hit targets on land strongly suggests that the tires are intended to confuse incoming missiles' target systems. So it's kind of a jimmy-rigged way to try to trick the computers. So it will think it will just be it's a pile of tires instead of a plane. But what's so crazy is what's confusing these high-tech, super-evolved system is basically dumbing down things because it knows that it has a computer. It's the same thing that is its strength. These targeting systems can also be its weakness. So I actually think that this is, it's not smart. I mean, you'd probably have a couple guys on the base going, well, why don't we just put some tires on top of it? And it sounds like that's exactly what they did. One thing is, I remember a study that was done a couple of years ago about the facial recognition system, and people were coming up with systems to try to trick it. These things are going to have facial recognition at some point. All these drones are being designed with them. But the targeting system, I wonder if this actually is going to work. Or, now that they know this, are they going to start targeting tires? Dex, do you have an opinion about that? Covering with tires.
And there, I think there's a picture. There's one picture. I can't make out the tires, but not that one, but the next one. But you can certainly make out a dark stuff that has been placed on top of the plane. I think in other satellite images, they've been able to determine that they're tires. I guess it makes a lot of sense to talk about messing up the digital or infrared signature of the aircraft as the tracking systems may use. But then let's also remember that, and just my first inclination when I look at this, the other planes that were taken out in some of those bases were actually launched from small quadcopters inside Russia's territory. So they weren't these long-range missiles. So I don't know. And I'm sure that those weren't, because they're small, they don't have a very large charge. But the top of the wings of a plane are fairly thin. They've got a lot of strength to them, but that's also where all the fuel is. So it's real easy to basically take a plane out with a very small amount of something that goes pow on the wings, which are much more fragile and obviously susceptible to the fuel being there versus the other areas. So looking at how they've displaced this, I wonder if it has a dual purpose. If maybe they're thinking that the tires will also add a layer of potential protection from these little, they're literally DJI drones they're taking over, so they can't carry anything that's really strong. It's a pretty lightweight charge, but it's enough to, all it takes is a quick fire to start on a wing of the plane, and the whole plane's going down.
A lot of them can carry about 2 pounds or 3 pounds. I mean, if you could think about that in explosives, yeah, that could do a lot of damage. Heavy Ordnance said redneck backyards have been ready for war since 1935. I don't remember the year he said, but that's funny. It reminds me of the Jeff Foxworthy jokes, like, If you got at least 4 cars and your grass is longer than your cars, then you might be a redneck. Or if you've got tires on top of your planes, you might be a Russian. Let's see here. And then Cuba. I don't know if this is to cover or to like maybe they didn't want it to get out the way that it looks, but Cuba busts human trafficking network to ship Cubans to Russia's front lines. Now, I have a friend that has family in Cuba and is from Cuba. His mom's from Cuba, and they have tons, like a huge extended family in Cuba. And I wanted to talk to them about this, but I didn't get a chance before the show. But from what I have talked to them before, this was something I was going to tell you guys last week. They are actually Cubans in Cuba are saying that they are getting offers to go and fight in Russia for Russia, and a lot of folks are actually taking them up on that. And then this came out, so that's pretty odd. Also, they say that there are Russians in Cuba, that you go to the grocery store and you often hear Russian. Not only that there are Chinese in Cuba. So that confirms to me, hearing it from people that actually live there, that there are a lot of Chinese and a lot of Russians actually in Cuba for some reason. And if you think about it, now it's public that they are building some sort of Chinese training base there, and Russia is building some sort of monitoring thing. See, China has built something there, and they say it's to monitor the U.S. because Cuba's right there. But this is kind of freaky. It says on Tuesday, the Foreign Ministry of Cuba said that it has neutralized and dismantled a human trafficking network that operates from Russia to recruit Cubans to the Russian front lines to fight against UKR. Why I think that this is a cover is because Cuba's been in on this. Cuba's letting China and Russia do things. They're teaming up with them. Before all of this, a couple years ago, Cuba's leader ended up meeting with Putin and then ended up meeting with Xi. So they've been planning stuff for 3, 4, 5 years now. It says Cuba faces human operations for the purpose of military recruitment. From what I heard from my friend, I don't think it's the traffic. I think that they are getting paid and they're voluntarily going. But I don't know. Maybe there's another part of it. Or I guess, is that considered traffic as well? Dex, what do you think about them actually taking Cubans to the Russian front lines? Do you think it's actually happening, or do you think they're making it up?
In this example, they refer back to a statement that came out a couple weeks ago from Elaine Paparazzi Cubano, who was a YouTube influencer who interviewed 2 Cuban teenagers that actually signed up to go work, and they had signed for contracts for construction. And they were doing construction, at least they thought they were doing construction in Russia, helping rebuild damaged buildings and stuff like that. Well, once they get over there, they're thrown at the front line and they're digging trenches. So totally different than what they signed up for. And that was very concerning for them. And it sounds like that may be the example or the impetus for this crackdown. And that may be that it wasn't just recruiting people. Maybe they're recruiting some people and telling them, hey, this is what we're doing. You want to come join the battle. And they also are bringing other people in under the guise of just getting construction contract work so they can make money and send it home and end up going over. And then they're thrown at the front line.
So so Solo says, good grief, human blah, blah, blah traffic. That sounds like propaganda. Yeah, I think that it's probably somewhere in the exact middle of this. Something is not right here. Then it says, we are 19-year-old boys. And by the way, how are they getting media coverage if they're basically being held? We are in Russia supposedly for a contract, but everything has been a scam, a hoax, they told YouTuber Cubano, which I don't know about this guy. I've never seen it, but I'll have to check it out. It says they told us that, quote, we were going for the construction to fix the houses devastated by the war, trenches, rubble. Everything has been a scam, they said. They haven't paid us. We don't have passports. We don't have documents. They kept everything as soon as we got here. So they're implying that they actually took their passports and took all of these things. Why wouldn't they say who took the documents? Russia took the documents? Are they fighting? They're leaving just enough open. It says, we have been to more than 7 Russian cities. In the hospitals that we have arrived, they do the same test. Nobody knows about us, they complained. This is weird. It like leaves enough there to make this. It sounds like they took stuff out of context. Do you see what I mean? There's got to be like 4 more paragraphs in there, and they just like cut ones out. I don't know. They do that a lot. But this is just odd. But this also says that they went voluntarily thinking it was something else. So that would, but I guess if it's true that they get there and they basically kidnap them, but something's not right. If usually if you take somebody against their will, then you don't let them talk to the YouTuber that's, doing videos and stuff. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. And then this is wild. And of course, you guys know, the one thing that I kind of believe in is if there is a deep sea creature that we haven't discovered yet, because we don't know the ocean. In fact, we know less about the ocean than we do about space. It says a tourist in China captured on video what she claimed was a 50-foot long silver monster breaching the water surface of a small lake long believed to be the home of a mysterious creature that has drawn comparisons to the Loch Ness Monster. The woman, Miss Li from Shanghai, claims she encountered the beast while visiting Lake Tianqi, which means Heavenly Lake, in Xinjiang region in northwestern China. It says Li said she was strolling along the lakeshore at around 4 p.m. local time when she suddenly heard what sounded like fish splashing in the water. She looked into the distance and saw a giant creature in the lake about 600 feet away from her. Cell phone video shot by Lee shows the still surface of the alpine lake being disturbed by something swimming underneath, causing waves and ripples. About 10 seconds, the ripples stopped and the lake returned to being as serene as before. At first, I thought it might be several fish, but upon closer inspection, it was just one long, silver-colored creature, the tourists claim. How creepy! I mean, if this was like super, super legit, if this was a real thing, that would be so freaky. This is one of the screen captures from it. Doesn't look like much, but you can see it all the way from the very frame of the kind of end of the frame. There's a little piece which probably doesn't translate well on the screen, all the way to about an inch away from the right side. Imagine if that was not a whale and something far more mysterious. Very creepy. Not too many people believe in Loch Ness. I don't know. How many people believe in something like a Loch Ness? Like, I more believe that it would be a huge creature that just is very elusive. We didn't see the giant squid. We only got it on pictures, I think twice or 4 times in all of history, and most of those were recent from expeditions and things. The giant squid get up to like crazy lengths, like 50 feet, 80 feet, whatever it is, and they're truly terrifying looking, and they're giant, but yet they are elusive. If you think about it, this is their world. It's not humans. Humans have a really hard time going underwater, even if you're in a submarine. The submarines are loud. If you're a creature that could get away from sound or stuff like that, you're already trying to get away from other creatures. You could be a big creature in the ocean and not be spotted. The other thing is one of the main reasons that all of these crazy, huge, giant creatures died off was because of a massive asteroid, tsunamis that hit all over the world. And if you were, a lot of the creatures that survived, at least some of the bigger asteroids that hit, were sea creatures because they still, they were okay. Alligators have survived and crocodiles for, however long, because they are water-dwelling creatures. So, makes me wonder. There is so much we don't know, says Jonathan Fleming. No dinosaurs, but through current tech, they could be bred back. Randy, man, you know what's so crazy is the Jurassic Park thing. We've covered this. Scientists are trying to get it approved. They can actually do exactly the Jurassic Park. Like, Jurassic Park's not kind of similar. They're talking about DNA frozen in amber and taking the DNA of dinosaurs from mosquitoes and actually, growing these things in a lab. We might actually see a Jurassic Park someday. That's the crazy part of that. I can only imagine art imitating life, or life imitating art. I like the theory that Bigfoots are apparitions or revenants. Brandon Willie, very well could be. That would make more sense than a 10-foot hairy man. Dingus Chubb says, bet that Chinese will eat it. Hollywood tells the future, Mr. Streets. Well, it definitely has many times. Dex, do you believe in Loch Ness? I forgot. Didn't you say... You said no, didn't you?
No, I can believe there's something deep somewhere. I don't know enough about Loch Ness individually as much as just, it wouldn't surprise me there's something underwater somewhere on this planet.
Well, give us your opinion. Let us know in the comments down below. Thank you, B&B. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that. And thank you over on D-Live, everybody that has popped in already. Genius by Birth, Terry Quinn, and Shield Maiden. Thank you for joining as members, too. Thank you. Kimbria, Yobi, Karen from Columbus, Poco Loco, and Texas Rob 49. It's nice to see you today. And then Chance, thank you as well. Zippy Moons, thank you. And then Kiki Gray. Thank you for supporting over on D-Live. And then I can't forget For Love of Country 2259. Thank you for the super thanks on the last show, or the show before that. And then the Dogebird. I think I missed you the other day too, so thank you. And B&B. Thank you. My tap water's been cloudy for a month. Anybody else? Says Bible Talk 777. That I don't know. That might be something. I guess that's a very kind of dependent thing. Are you on a well? Are you on a public, line? I don't know too much about water, but that might be a thing where you need to check your lines. Or it could be something horrible. All right, and then Chinese national posing as tourists. Before we hit this is the most important story of the night. I do want to remind you, if you have not checked it out already, if you want to start prepping yourself and save 2/3 of what it costs to get prep that's already freeze-dried, Harvest Right has some of the best freeze dryers in the world. These are awesome machines. They are super easy to use. A lot of folks are intimidated by freeze drying, but this makes it incredibly easy. You basically set it and forget it. You can put the foods in the tray, in the machine. 24 hours later, you have freeze-dried food. If you garden, if you do anything where you have you're producing your own food, this is an awesome way to preserve it. It freezes and it cools it down, and it actually it takes all the water and oxygen molecules out of it, and it will end up preserving it for over 25 years. So this is an investment at the beginning, but this is something that is invaluable if you are a serious prepper. You are able to do it for whatever price you can find your food. Think about it. If you have a favorite food, you can, be as thrifty as you want, get good food and customize it, and then freeze dry it and make your own food for later. A lot of complaints about freeze-dried food that is pre-packaged is that it doesn't, that it's not as good as nutritionally, that it doesn't have the right kind of flavors, or that it's not customizable, that you're basically stuck with whatever they choose. This way you can do your own. And this is a huge deal as far as $300 off on the Pro model. And again, this is an awesome unit. So make sure to go over to marfooglenews.com/freeze and check that out, because there is $300 off on the Pro model. And then also there is a contest. Any chance we get, we try to get any of the affiliates to do these giveaways so that we can try to get out something to somebody, again, that might not necessarily be able to get this otherwise. Also, just a reminder, they have a layaway program if you want to save up and get one of these. I will be doing content at some point. I want to do freeze drying. We have garden stuff and we waste so much food. I want to do this for preservation and trying to save food. If the inflation has gotten so crazy, as far as even if you were saving your normal food and anything extra, This is something that might really pay off 5 years in the future if inflation keeps going like this. Right now, you go to the store for $100 or $200. That food, you barely come home with 2 or 3 bags. Like, it's nuts. At least here. I'm in Washington, where I'm at right now. The food is so expensive. It is half of our monthly budget at this point. It's insane. It's really killing us, and it's just really, really hard. So now I want to start preserving all of the stuff that's extra, and that's a huge deal as far as being able to be in control of what your preps are. Then you can seal them in custom Mylar bags and then have them for whenever you need them. All right, marfooglenews.com/freeze. It helps us. It helps support this channel. We're independent. Again, we do our own thing. We don't. Again, by the way, the other day, YouTube changed things. So they automated ads during live streams. We turned that off. Just so you know, that turned on, and during that show, everybody's like, what is this? It interrupted the show, and it made people miss a couple minutes of our show. We always turn that off. These ads, it's not going to go to support anybody else. It's not going to support a huge corporation. It supports us. So that I think a lot of people understand that these ads are for us. We're the little guy. We're up against a million big guys. And again, nobody likes ads. Nobody likes affiliates. But again, this is so we can support ourselves. We can fight back. We can literally protect ourselves when we get attacked. So thank you guys. And could not say it enough. Thank you so much. We both have families. And from our family to yours, thank you for supporting any of our affiliates. And then this is a huge deal. This is giant. And I have the biggest just drop in my gut when I saw this. You have to understand that Pearl Harbor has a lot of similarities. And I've been saying Pearl Harbor for a while now, like waiting for this, new age Pearl Harbor. I've pointed out that China has actually set up areas that look like U.S. coastlines. They have set up ports that look like our coastlines, and they've been practicing port busting torpedoes. They've been practicing hitting buildings that look a whole lot like ours. They've even, of course, we know that they've set up an exact replica of the Taiwanese capital, but a lot of people don't know that they've set up buildings that look like ours. They have set up ships in the desert that are exact replicas of our destroyers and our carriers. They are practicing a war against us, and they're very quiet about a lot of it, right? You don't hear them doing the same stuff that Russia or Iran and all these other countries do. They are quietly preparing. They have done a lot of very odd things, like they have stopped any kind of tracking and tracing of planes and different transports around their country. They got rid of flight radar hardware around the country, so they said it was a national security thing. They are prepping. And now all of a sudden they have their youth unemployment is at a record high. Some think that it's because those record youth are actually getting pulled in and, they're going to be joining military pretty soon here, that they're keeping a lot of secrets. But if you look back to Japan and Pearl Harbor, Japan did the same thing. They practiced hitting our port in a port that looked just like the port of Pearl Harbor. They actually practiced right before this. And right before that, Japan actually burnt a bunch of documents. I don't know if you saw this a few years ago on my show, but we actually had one of our embassies here all of a sudden burn all these documents. It was like they were hiding something. It was like they were hiding long-term plans. They didn't want anybody to know. Japan, when they were preparing to hit Pearl Harbor, they were doing this exact thing. In fact, a very famous spy that was a tourist would walk around, because a Japanese tourist in Hawaii was completely normal back then. And he would walk around and take photos. In fact, he went as far as getting it was like a reed kind of snorkel, and he was swimming around the ships, and he was essentially he was reporting and recording all of the movements of all of our ships. Well, now they say that Chinese nationals posing as tourists have accessed U.S. military bases and other sensitive sites. Dex, this is exactly what I have been fearing even seeing something remotely like this.
Exactly. And they said it's 100 times in recent years. So we've covered like one of these incidents. I know we have. It was one where they literally ran through the security gate. But some of the stuff, I guess the Wall Street Journal and others have put together this report where they've gone through and done all the investigations on all these and talked to different people in the DoD to look at how many incidences there really were. And it's pretty alarming. Just like you were talking about with the Reed. In this case, there was, scuba divers off of Cape Canaveral, which is where Kennedy Space Center is. There was other sites in the Key West near military bases where, again, they acted as tourists. They're swimming near the facilities and taking pictures. And the interesting thing is, no matter what it is they're doing, and oh, by the way, if you're out in the middle of nowhere and you show up at an airbase, but you're a tourist because there's nothing to really see there. That's kind of interesting too, because like tourists don't really show up in some of these locations. Like there's air bases that just aren't at popular tourist destinations. But if they show up there and they're like, oh, well, our GPS took us here because we're trying to go to McDonald's and they can't find their way. And that's the excuse. And every time they're given these standard lines that they all sort of say, which is, I'm a tourist and I'm lost. And so it's looking too much to be coincidental and very much to be something much more nefarious.
Yeah, so if you look into the story of Takeo Yoshikawa, this is one of the guys who they say was a big part of it. There's a lot of shady stuff around Pearl Harbor, just that whole situation, what was happening then. But you also look at things like this and you say, look at this. There are tourists visiting. They are recording with the balloons flying over, with us trying to hide all of our nuclear gear. Something bigger is going on here. And if they are high-fiving behind closed doors, either way, it looks like they are preparing something, and they're even doing the back-end stuff. They're making sure. If this is fake and manufactured and all that, they are making sure that there's going to be no way that anybody can try to say that, because they're doing all the background stuff. This is what you see before something happens. You see spies recording and watching our military bases. This isn't just like satellites monitoring our stuff. This is people going physically in and trying to see what's going on. So this is something that people need to pay attention to. It gives me I have the worst feeling in my gut about that. Bible Type 777 says, bought your Alexa Pure Pro 2 years ago. Going to use it soon and save my bottled water. I'm on public cloudy water to answer your question. Public cloudy water. Yeah, if it's gross like that. Yeah. There's a lot of people that have not drank tap water for a long time, Bible Talk. Had HRFD for 4 years. What you're saying about them isn't quite correct. Tell me how I can talk to you for accurate info. I've had a HRFD. Dex, do you know what Chief
Harvest rate freeze dryer?
No, I might have said something wrong. I don't think they get rid of the oxygen. I think that's what I messed up. But if there's something that I didn't say correctly, make sure you can put it in chat. I don't care if I said something wrong, I'll correct it.
Or email us too.
Yeah, you can email me at adam@marfooglenews.com. Yeah, I don't know what I could have possibly went wrong on that. Maybe about to set it in, well, it's 24 hours. Yeah. I guess, yeah. If you would love to send me correct information, I would love to. I haven't been able to use it yet, so I want to. I'm super excited. And I want to start preserving, and I want to start teaching people how to do it. So I want to learn all I can. So that would be great. Thank you, Chief. And then, Chief, if you would like to join us, I would like creators and regular folks alike to make videos for us. I'm like super, super pumped. I'm all in. Like, it's been years of saving, and I'm down. Big Hair Tsunami, thank you so much. Thank you for becoming a member. Alien Face Huggers has become a member. Thank you. And then Brad Scarborough, thank you for subscribing. Roger Rabbit has subscribed. Liesel, Florida Man, Wendy K, Patriot Matt P, Charles Lewis, and Merlin. Thank you, and thank you. And yeah, in Bible talk, I would definitely use the Alexa Pure Pro. As far as then you can save the water, but you have to look up proper preservation for the water too. I had a bunch of water that I had to throw out because I wasn't doing it right. And I found that out. I don't remember if it was Survival Living or Alaska Prepper that told me that basically my water was totally stored wrong, and it would have made me sick if I would have kept it because it was over 10 years old. And then exclusive, China to launch new $40 billion state fund to boost chip industry, sources say. Dex, do you want to go over that?
So this is direct in the face to the fact that we have sanctioned and prevented technology to give them the advancements that they would need in chip development. It's not just, at the end of the day, we always go, oh, there's a lot of chips that we get out of China, which is true, but they're not the high-end chips. They're not the most coveted and state-of-the-art and latest and greatest chips when we build stuff. Most of that's coming, it's actually designed here in America, printed and produced here, and then sent over to Taiwan and built. So China is desperately trying to get into that. Obviously, one of the reasons why I think they want the island of Taiwan is to gain some of that technology. But they've also now, put aside 41 billion of their dollars from an investment to start to build these and invest in this advanced integrated circuit technology that they need. So this is absolutely 100% because of the fact that we cut them off from that tech, part of the sanctions we did. So they're trying to get around that. They're trying to develop it themselves. They certainly will. I don't know if it's enough money, but it's a lot of money. It's not going to happen overnight. Just like if we lost Taiwan tomorrow, it would take us many years to rebuild the capability to mass produce. Just keep in mind, when it comes to these chips, there's two different things. One is the designing and building the sort of the template or the original chip, the model. And then there's the mass production of being able to pump those out by the thousands or the millions. That second part is what TSMC and other places do really well. And that first part is what mostly here in the US, we are the leaders in developing the greatest and most advanced chips, designing them, I should say, but not mass producing them. That happens outside of our country. But anyway, that's what's happening here. They're desperately trying to not lose the foot in the direction that they were headed with their tech. We cut them off quickly, and that was a big loss for them. They were very upset with it, but they're obviously trying to resolve this with some money.
And by the way, Chief said, Adam, no, rather talk. Haha, I had never had a 24-hour batch in 4 years. So you're saying it is faster than that. Okay, thank you, Chief. I appreciate that. I would like to correct
or
it.
Longer.
Or longer.
I think it depends on the food and the density.
Huh. Well, again, I'm spending my own money for it. I'm not getting I'm not getting it for free. So it's not something I'm an expert on yet. But I do know enough people with them to know that I've literally tried, and I was over at several friends' house. One of my friends had one of their competitors and shared their complaints with it, and had one that basically broke after about 2 years. And then I had a friend with a harvest right, and they absolutely love it. So Chief, if you had it for 4 years, give your honest opinion about it. I'd love to hear it. But I've actually, I thought it was 24 hours. So please correct me. I didn't get to stick around to see the finished thing until the next week I got to eat it. Once you have seen the pictures of city tap water pipes, you will never be the same about it. Heavy ordnance, you are absolutely correct. I have not drank tap water in probably close to 10 years. And that's because I met somebody that worked at one of the, what do they call the plants that clean out the water? The
waste treatment facility?
Waste treatment facility. And he told me some horror stories, and I couldn't get over that. It's kind of like finding out what's in hot dogs for the first time. Big Hair Tsunami, thank you for gifting 10 badges. That's huge. Thank you so much, Big Hair Tsunami. Appreciate that. Now all of those folks have the Marfoogle badge. Thank you. Penny Salmons, thank you. And Joe that got one of those memberships. That's awesome. Bobby Sue Fry. And Bobby Sue Fry got one, nickel-wise. Hey, that's awesome. Thank you, guys. Let's see here. Retired police officer. Hey, thank you for your service, by the way. And Bobby Birch is here. We've got Blonde Sand. We have Captain Apana. We have Carl. Thank you. Eric Haggins, Joe McGavin, Beth, and Schaefer Girl. Trinity is in the house. Make sure to go check out Trinity's channel over on marfooglenews.com/friends. She is such an amazing woman. She is so sweet. And then also make sure to go check out Ilea while you're there over on marfooglenews.com/friends. Plane makers look to pilotless future. So saw this one coming a million miles away, which we showed you the very first machine that they had. They actually had something where you could convert an existing plane. You could take a 747, a Boeing 747, and you could put this big, huge box type thing that would hook up to all of the knobs and be able to push all the buttons. And I think some of it was computer, like it was plugged in. But the physical parts of it, it could actually pilot the plane. And this was something that could be done, that can even be AI in the future, right? And I said, once they do this, there is going to be another middle class, good position, good job that, you could actually get by on that's going to disappear. Personally, I would not trust a plane that's up to a computer. For how much my computer freezes, I'm not down with that. But that's the way it's going to go, because a computer doesn't have L&I claims. A computer doesn't complain about their divorce. A computer doesn't, have late days because they're hungover. It's like, it's a computer. So I guarantee you these corporations and their bottom lines are going to all go this way, and it's going to affect almost every job with not only robots, but with AI and this new tech that's coming out. If you've ever talked to ChatGPT and realize how it intelligently responds to even the most kind of weirdest questions, and even the tone that they're said in, then you realize if you put that in charge and teach it to fly something or to drive something, they can do it. Imagine teaming up Tesla's self-driving technology with a computer that could talk back to you like ChatGPT. That is absolutely terrifying. And this is where we're at. We're in sci-fi now. We are in the sci-fi age. And no, cars aren't flying around and buzzing around like Fifth Element, which, awesome movie. But it is to the point where it's about to take off. And we are actually kind of in this crazy time in history where we're going to see all of this stuff happen. Or it's all going to end abruptly. As far as, this is not good. I really hate that that pilots and other careers that are a solid middle class job are being threatened by this. And I think people need to push back. I think people really need to, vote with their money. Don't don't support and spread the word about that. Don't support and go fly in a plane that's not flown by a human being. That's how you stop this. If people won't fly on a plane like this, then people won't develop the crap to do it. In the long run, this is going to be better for everybody. What is this? What are these pilotless airplanes better for? The corporations, not for us. You want somebody to be making money off of this and to be piloting this and to be supporting a family and to be supporting the economy. You don't want a pilotless plane. It says every commercial flight has 2 pilots at the controls, but some plane makers are now designing cockpits that need fewer pilots, or someday even none. This is bull, and I really think people need to start pushing back on this kind of thing. It says the idea most active in Europe, where French manufacturers Airbus and Dassault are pushing for regulators to allow passenger planes to operate with only 1 pilot in the cockpit for the majority of a long-haul flight. Don't do it. It's a commercially driven initiative with enormous risks for passengers, for pilots, and for cabin crew. Cabin crew that fly every day. What are the chances of this computer system messing up, right? They say, oh, well, it's getting safer and safer. If there's ever a plane that says it's the safest ever, I'll go, okay, yeah. And so is the Titanic. No, thank you. I'm good. Are you going to ride in a passenger plane? Or if you buy your ticket and they don't even tell you, I bet you this is how it's going to happen. They're not even going to declare which planes are which when this really goes into play. You won't know if you're on a passenger pilotless plane. Dex, it's cool technology and everything, but I know pilots. I know people that work in Alaska, and I know that this is something that's going to affect truck drivers. It's going to affect every career that actually has the potential to support a family, and it's going to be gone.
Well, and the way they'll do it is they'll reduce prices. And if you want to fly in a plane with a pilot, it's going to cost you more. And you know what's going to happen? People are going to take the cheaper route. They always do, and they'll pay less. And those airlines that are running pilotless planes will make more money, sell more tickets, and have more people on them. And that's just the way. That's what will happen. As much as we tell people, "Hey, don't do it," buy American. Don't go buy, something that's cheaply made in another country. It's hard to do, especially when times are tough and money goes up, or your company is paying for your airfare to make you're traveling salesperson. You fly all over, but they force you to only fly on certain airlines that are cheaper. That's what's gonna happen. It's very unfortunate. Now, this whole notion of one pilot, that's a scary thing. I would like to think that if they do that, they're doing one pilot because the whole thing is automated. But if it's not, and today it's not, the only thing that's automated besides flight control and landing, but takeoff is not. They can land by themselves. They can fly from destination to destination by themselves with autopilot. But the takeoff is done with a pilot. And having two makes it easy when somebody is sick, or in the unfortunate instances, which we've seen plenty of, if they perish in the air, then you've got somebody else there that can actually command the ship and safely land it. And I think we've seen a lot of pilots that have done some pretty miraculous saves, whether it be dipping really, really low because somebody messed up and left the flaps on when they were taking off near Hawaii and they dropped almost to the water. Or we see other pilots go to do bird strikes and are able to recover and land a plane in the Hudson River and save all those lives. Those are humans that are making those decisions. I don't know that computers can really do that at this stage as effectively as some of these skilled pilots that have got, 30 years under their belts flying these planes.
What was that river? The Hudson River land? Like,
yeah.
Do you think a computer could have done that? Yeah. I don't think they made a movie about that. I haven't seen that yet, but about the pilot that miraculously landed on the Hudson River, right? Computer's not going to be able to do that. Or maybe it will. If you talk to ChatGPT now, you could see in 5 years from now, that could be a dude named Steve. Like, oh, hey, Steve, can you write me an article? Yeah, it's weird. Who said that? Somebody said, yeah, if you're going to let me wear a parachute. Well, they shouldn't charge you for a second seat, right? If you have to have your parachute there. I think that should be like the trade-off. Just give you an extra spot, or maybe give you a chair that allows you to wear your parachute and recline, They just have to give you a little bit more room. And you should have that room. If you don't need a human in the pilot seat, then, don't even have a cockpit. I'm surprised they even still have a cockpit in 2023. Don't they cut those off now? Oh. Mysterious Earth-sized planet could be hiding in plain sight in our solar system. The Nitba people are going to be like, told you so. Because it is weird. Scientists keep talking about there's this weird thing out there. They even said this a few years ago, that they believe they found something out in space and they're watching it, and essentially they can see things being pulled in by some large object's gravity. And they say they can't see the actual object, but they can see things being pulled in. And it's actually how I've described kind of like how you can see there's something big on the horizon. You just can't see it, but you can see all of the mainstream articles, all the kind of things moving in place to have this big thing happen. But some folks that believe in X, and I didn't think about that too, that Elon did it as X. Maybe he believes in X. But they said that there was some object out there, And some believe that there's a planet that has a 5,000 or 10,000 year cycle, and it comes back around. And when it does, it will screw up all of our, it will screw up gravity. It will screw up our water. It will screw up everything. Or it could be a cycle where we all perish, right? But now astronomers have found likely evidence of an Earth-like planet in the solar system that may be circling the sun in an orbit beyond Neptune. Physicists, including those from the National Astronomical Observatory of Japan, said that the planet could be much closer than the hypothetical planet 9 thought to exist in the far outer edges of the solar system. Several studies in the past have suggested that there is likely a yet undiscovered planet beyond the Kuiper Belt, the Kuiper Belt, a stellar disk of materials such as asteroids, space rocks, comets around the sun in the outer solar system past the orbit of Neptune. In the new research published recently in the Astronomical Journal, scientists found that some of the objects in the Kuiper Belt behave in a way indicative of the presence of a small planet among them. One such object, they said, is about 500 astronomical units from the sun, where 1 AU is the distance between the sun and the Earth. It says in comparison, Neptune is at a distance of 30 AUs from the sun. It says some of those were also found to have, quote, odd orbits, suggesting that they are being pulled by the gravity of a cosmic entity larger than those typically influence such objects. Computer simulations run by scientists indicate that the most likely explanation for the observations was another hidden planet in the Kuiper Belt. We predict the existence of an Earth-like planet, said in the study. Whoa, right? If it's true. Or maybe they're just giving you little hope balls every 10 minutes so you think that there's something there. But it's really just so they can get more money for the colleges so they can train you to, deal with microaggressions. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Planet Brad just says plain old, Hope Balls, Bobby Sue. Oh, yeah. I guess you guys never heard of Hope Balls? They're actually really good. It's like a spaghetti mix type thing mixed with songs of satisfaction. Life won't be on this planet. Too cold. Judgment by fire making more sense, says Sheldon Bosch. Peter Tremblett. Nope. Rad 135 says aliens. Yeah, and they're watching us. Danish Girl says no. Simon says Nib is here. Viv B. Hope balls. It's a saying. You guys have never heard that? Balls of hope? Hope balls? Hope am I saying it wrong? Hope balls? Maybe I'm mixing hope. No. Yeah, I might be. Oh. That's right. There is no hope balls. That's right. Okay. Real quick, do want to remind you, make sure to go check out Energy. Being real, Energy solar generators are some of the coolest, most modular, most changeable, and most flexible units out there. They call it the Flex 15 for a reason, because you can add all sorts of different mods, kind of like Lego. You can add them in. They're bricks that essentially do a purpose. So there's battery bricks, there are mod bricks, there are charger bricks, there are bricks that can expand how many solar panels you can plug in. There are bricks that can rapid charge. The new super powered UPS rapid charger, this thing is absolutely a game changer because it also turns it into a UPS. So on top of getting a rapid charger that can charge an entire 1,000 watt battery brick in less than an hour, which is insane, at 1,200 watts, it does 1,200 watts per hour. Besides that, it also serves as a UPS. So that means uninterrupted power supply. You can have your fridge plugged into the machine plugged into the wall. Then when the power goes out or something busts, it will immediately flip over to the generator. This is incredible. Otherwise, how they normally work is, well, you turn it on and you plug something in. Great. But this allows you to actually have it as the pass-through and a backup generator. Essentially like what you'd see in all the movies where the hospital, oh, the power went out. Oh, we got our backup Jenny. Or any grocery store or whatever, if you've ever been there when the power goes out, they have the backup generator kick on. Those are UPSs. They make sure because, you don't want the fridges or freezers to die, so you got to have that backup. Well, that allows it to do it, and it charges your Flex. So you can plug it into the wall and charge it in like 40 minutes. It's insane. It's insanely fast. Normal charge cycle, if you plug it into the wall with even the fast charger, is about 4 hours, I think. No, actually, the fast charger is about like 2 hours. I'll have to check. I've been using the rapid charger, and it charges each battery in 40 minutes. So 2 batteries would be about an hour and 20 minutes or something. Less than the time it took to charge 1 battery back when I first got it. So this is a really cool unit if you already have it. But otherwise, these are tough. They're made like trucks. And again, this is the same company that's now going to be outfitting the Army. The Energy Flex Tactical, which is like their over-the-top, just awesome unit. If you want the most tactical thing, then you would go for this. But for most people, I would say the Flex 1500 is good enough. The Flex Tactical has built-in heaters and everything. It's awesome. But here's the main part. If you can save up for one of these, or if you want to get the base unit, you can build it up over time. Having power when no one else does is a huge deal. You don't need to deal with gas stations in an SHTF situation with this. All you need is to get yourself some foldable panels, and you've got power. That's a giant thing. Even if you do have space and a whole property to store fuel, however long that lasts is however long you have power. With this, you have unlimited power for as long as it survives. So that's a cool part, and it's silent. Nobody is going to know you have it. They might see your solar panels, but if you can put them up high up, you could literally be a complete gray man. Nobody will know you actually have power because they're silent and they can be run inside. There's no harmful fumes. Again, it is awesome. So go over to marfooglenews.com/energy. Again, they are absolutely ridiculously cool. You can use them for everything. marfooglenews.com/energy, INERGY. All right, Dex, let's go over the web only. We've got a lot of crazy stuff here. And before that, I just want to say thank you, Trilicit, for becoming a member. I really appreciate that. Thank you, guys. Thank you for, again, all of the new members today. And thank you, Kimbria, for the glory of Christ over on DLive. And thank you, Merlin, this week. And Danish Girl, nice to see you here tonight. And thank you, Bill, for subscribing. And thank you, Karen. I appreciate that. Thank you. All right, Dex, web only.
Yeah, let's do it. Head over to marfooglenews.com. Click on the thumbnail for the show, or open up that show notes link down below in the description. It'll take you right here to this page with all the information we just covered. Find this yellow bar that says overflow, and you'll find the rest of the story. Let's go over it. In addition to the Resvani tank, make sure you sign up if you want to win that. Yet another giveaway. We've got lots of those for you guys, so make sure you're entering. You want to be able to win. If you don't do anything, then you definitely won't have that opportunity. All right. A lot of updates in the beginning. We got the political stuff going on, a lot back and forth with T-Man and Biden, and some stuff coming from the special counsel. If you want to know what's going on with that, as we reported yesterday, or maybe the day before, I think it was yesterday, Jill was positive. Well, now our current president is negative. At least that's what they said today, but he's going to be covering up. So that's in the news if you're curious. There's a whole lot of hit pieces on Elon, specifically, I guess, with the ADL and his blaming of them for his loss in revenue. So that's I imagine that will carry on for a little bit of time. That's a pretty meaty subject, and they tend to go over them. As I mentioned earlier in the show around Burning Man, we do have some additional updates in here. So if you're curious about the chaos that is continuing to unfold there, as 73,000 people are trying to run out of that place, and they literally are. There's traffic jams galore going on. So that's there, as well as a humanoid robot, which we covered these things from time to time. So if you want to meet Apollo, it's your next colleague, as they're trying to tell you. That and so much more. It's all right there on our website. So go to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for the show, or open up that show notes link down below in the description. It'll take you right here.
And yes, it looks like the chat went wild. Okay. Well, let's keep it to today's show. Tomorrow there will be a different situation. All right. Well, thank you, Red Pill. Thank you, Viv B. Thank you, Thomas. Solo, you're funny. Heavy Ordnance, Buddy, Butter B1, Blonde Sand. Thank you so much. Says appreciate the good information. Thank you. Nephilim Jones, Carl. Thank you. Michael X, Tiges and Z. Ilea, Earth-like might be referring to size, not habitability. Habitability. And then Tomateer 7. You said something funnier earlier, and I forgot to read it because we were moved on to something, but that was funny. You got a chuckle out of me. Marf, good to see you on tonight live. Enjoy all your information. Thank you, Eric. I've been waiting since June 1st for my energy. June, so it's September. Yeah, I actually waited a long time. So what you're waiting on is the lithium. The lithium that they're all these companies are fighting over it. Somebody else mentioned like the Blue Yeti and all these companies. There's almost a monopoly on lithium. So when those batches of lithium come in, they make the units. One thing, Eric, I will say is it's going to be absolutely worth your wait. You're getting one of the best solar generators out there. And I can thoroughly say I have the X2, the Flex 1500, and they gave me their demo version of the Tactical. They're amazing. So you can't go wrong. Again, like for whoever said that they got their competitor, I think there's only really 2 units, and I think you also went for a smart decision too. But the fact that you can mod it the way you want it, and it doesn't increase the footprint size. Some of the competitors, they have these huge, massive cables that have to go from one to the next, and there's going to be mods over the years that are just going to kill the competition. So again, it's really amazing. It's worth the wait. I waited 5 months in the beginning because back then during CV, it was so hard for any company to get their hands on the resource. And here's another thing. The price on lithium is going to skyrocket. That's why a lot of people are trying to get these things now because it's insane, all of the lithium battle that's going on. And partly because of the country in the East. All right. Thank you, Dex. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for your service tonight.
Much love. Great job, brother. And by the way, I like Spaceballs. Movie.
One of my favorite movies of all time. That was such a good parody. I mean, there's very few parodies that actually do a good job that, don't have Leslie Nielsen in them. But, that was a good one.
They can't do those movies nowadays. They'd be canceled.
Could you imagine them doing Spaceballs now? It would absolutely be canceled. I don't even have to look it up. I bet you there's some group trying to cancel Spaceballs. I guarantee it. They can't do movies like that. They're trying to cancel like Christmas Vacation and other movies. Ace Ventura, they were trying to get that taken off of TV because of the joke about the woman police officer that ends up being something else. That used to be funny. Now since everything is a sensitivity, you can't crack jokes. And humor has always been the baseline of kind of getting to the truth of things, being able to ask questions. It's part of a free society, is being able to crack jokes on things like that. So it's really scary that they are even making comedians. Comedians can't say anything. Comedians are afraid to talk now. That's disgusting. Dex, go.
Yeah, that's Mel Brooks. And if you've seen the original History of the World Part 1, and then you watch the new one that he came out with, the new one was funny. It was worth watching. But it's definitely not the same as the kind of comedy that he did back in the day. So it's dead on. Blazing Saddles, History of the World Part 1, Spaceballs, all that. They wouldn't do it today.
They can't do it. The vacuum the vacuum spaceship. Oh my gosh, that movie was so absurd. And they used to make, they used to poke fun at racial topics and things like that. And they can't do any of that. I bet you Cheech and Chong wouldn't fly now too, because they would be say it was stereotypical. Some of the Cheech and Chong movies were hilarious. Cheech and Chong are still successful. Like those guys are now like, I see them all over Twitter. People are talking about their silly edible things, and I'm just like, man, those movies so would not fly. And I'm surprised, since they are successful right now with those things that they're selling, I'm surprised that people aren't calling out for them. So it's hypocrisy. The same people that are calling out all these other movies, they leave that alone, and then because it's something that they support. So I give it an amount of time before they end up going after the Cheech and Chong movies. All right, and some video on Twitter the other day, they showed a white kid with cornrows being accosted by security guards. They said, you're appropriating culture and you can't enter the building. And they were serious. They were like, you can't go in. You're appropriating culture. Like, what? And the kid's response was like, what? This goes back to Egypt. He's like, are you Egyptian? Like, and they were like, are you Egyptian? He's like, no, but that's the point. It's like everybody's going back further and further to somebody. And if somebody did it, so you can't do it, you can't plagiarize a hairstyle. It's just crazy. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. And again, if you say that somebody said something about the 15 minutes, if you can, call it a 20-minute town. That's what we call it now. Thank you. And thank you guys. Have a great night. And thank you to your mods. Dropping them in the chat right now. They have done an awesome job tonight. And please spread the message. Pay attention. The tourists doing this stuff, this is history repeating itself. Tell people to get ready in whatever way you can and do it in a responsible way. Don't freak them out. Don't say you need to go build a shelter. Just say, for responsibility reasons, have extra food and water. Maybe get their first kind of thing going for them. If you have friends and family, bring over some stuff for them. Bring over a couple freeze-dried meals. Say, hey, do whatever you need to do to try to get your friends and family there. Don't argue with them, because then that will push them even further back. All right, you guys, love you. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. It is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout-out. It's a shoutro. Thank you, K. Parker Frazier. Says love Adam, Dex, Mods, and the Foogle fam. Thank you, K. Parker Frazier. Thank you, everybody that made it to tonight's show. Thank you to the mods. Trinity, thank you so much for showing up today. Thank you so much, Ilea. David Reed, hey, what's going on, buddy? John Slaymaker, Mama of Six, Butterbone. Most towns are already 20-minute towns. Schaefer Girl, Ilea, Joda, you know, good night, much love. KT Cleans a lot, thank you. Tonight, our top supporter. Thank you so much, B&B. Texas Rob, thank you so much. One on B, Poco Loco, Sybin. Let's do one for B&B. Bum, 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 bum. on the fly. Everybody who and they all eyes wide. Trudy on the far scene, remember. Everybody now remember. Lock and down in November. Everybody knows and we hold on. And I said the honor, I see the one no bad. I with the cats don't care. And the man and no Susie. You and no ball on the fly. I don't carry red on the white. Katie cleans a lot, don't shave a girl. We try prepping in the whole world. Mama over 6 in the elbow. I bring it back now, we on top. Peppermint and the music. A chong and a guitar. Solo is amazing. B and I said no B and B. B and 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 B and B. B and no B and B. B and no B and B.